Hi, this is Brooke, and I'm gonna do a cook with me using 3 recipes out of the Magnolia cookbook. So let's get to cooking. First recipe is the chicken tortilla soup, and we've had this before and it's super delicious, and I changed it up a little bit so it's easier for me to do, and I'm going to show you what I did right now. The recipe calls for the meat off of 1 rotisserie chicken, or like has a recipe for you to like roast your own chicken and then use the meat. Well, I don't like to pull the chicken off a rotisserie chicken. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not my favorite thing. So what I've been doing to get the chicken is I use 3 chicken breasts, 3 chicken thighs, and I put them in the crock pot for most of the day, and then when they're all done and soft, I just shred it up, because that's what you're supposed to do with the rotisserie chicken anyways, and then I use that meat for my soup. So I'll show you what it looks like here in my crock pot, and then the few little spices that I put on it. So here's the chicken in my crock pot. I have 3 chicken breasts, 3 chicken thighs, I have 1 chicken bouillon cube, and then some salt and pepper, and then a little bit of my Kansas City fry seasoning that I've been throwing into everything. So, and I just have that on low. When I get home from work this afternoon, I'll check it and then shred it up, and then it'll be ready for my soup for supper. I've done some prep for my soup. I got the tomatoes ready. Those were tomatoes from my grandparents' garden, so I needed 1 red ripe vine tomato, so I just cut up, what, 4 of them there that were all pretty soft. I did leave the skins on. It didn't say to peel them or anything, and they're gonna cook in a soup, so I just figured it was okay to leave the skins on. I drained my can of corn, and it calls for a red onion, but I only have a white onion, and I'm not gonna buy a red onion, I guess, to only use 1/4 of a cup of it. I just like to use what I have in the fridge sometimes, and for me, onions I'm okay to substitute. That doesn't bother me or whatever, just like I kind of did the chicken. I used what I had instead of buying a rotisserie chicken. So I'm going to show you the recipe, so I'll go over it kind of slow, so if you do want to take a screenshot to recreate this, you sure can, and then we'll get to cooking the soup and putting it together. So here's the tortilla soup, and as you can see, you need chicken broth, tomato, corn, red onion, a jalapeno, and I had gotten tons of jalapeno one time, so I'm just going to use a bag that I cut up for jalapeno, salt, pepper, the shredded meat, and that's, I told you about the chicken, 1 pouch of Mexican rice, some cumin. I do have fresh cilantro, that's for on the top, and then I do not do the avocados. We like guacamole, but I don't think we would like avocados like that, so I just skip that. I buy the blue corn tortilla chips, just the Walmart brand, and sometimes we'll just crush them on the top, or we'll just dip it in kind of like a dip into the soup, and then the grated mozzarella cheese, I just buy it in the bag. And then here's the directions, pretty simple. You combine the broth and all that stuff and stir and garnish and eat. And it's super delicious. And it's a cold, windy day here, so the soup is going to taste really nice. The soup is all done and it smells and looks delicious. So I'm going to dish it up and show you how I'm going to garnish my bowl. My bowl, I'm going to put a little cilantro on there, some of the mozzarella cheese, and I did get out the sour cream. So I'm going to try a dollop of sour cream today just to see. And then here's my blue corn tortilla chips. I put a lot in there. So there's my beautiful bowl of soup. I have another recipe from the Magnolia Table Cookbook for you today. We are making chicken spaghetti. First time I've ever tried this recipe. It's once again one that asks for a rotisserie chicken, and I just crock potted some chicken breasts and one chicken thigh because it doesn't need quite as much chicken as the soup did. And so I will show you the recipe and then we will get to preparing the meal. So here's the recipe. I have vegetable oil, spaghetti, butter, white onion, minced garlic, a bell pepper, a red and a yellow. Got mushrooms. I bought the pre-sliced ones. Have heavy cream. Our grocery store only sells heavy whipping cream, so hopefully that's the same thing. Of course, I have milk. I've just bought chicken broth, cream cheese. Our store doesn't have white cheddar, so I bought a chunk of Kobe cheese because they said that was similar in taste when I Googled it on the internet. So I do have to grate that up. Processed cheese I got was just Velveeta, pepper, and then the shredded meat. 2 cups of shredded meat. That's just the chicken. And then I did buy some fresh parsley to garnish it. And it does say it takes 15 minutes to prep, but about an hour to cook. So I'm getting started here a little early with supper tonight. So we're just going to go through and follow the recipe and get our spaghetti made. So I've sauteed the peppers and onions and then put in the mushrooms. Next, I need to put in like the liquids and salt, 1 cup of cream, half a cup of milk, half a cup of broth, and then I have the cream cheese, cheddar, and the Velveeta all in this bowl. 1 teaspoon of salt, or it says to taste, 1 teaspoon of pepper. Cook, stirring often until the cheese is melted and sauce is creamy. And then I will add the chicken and spaghetti and toss to coat, and then I'll put it in the pan. So I still have this on medium, and I'm just gonna stir it and hope it melts like it's supposed to. Now it's time to add in the chicken and the spaghetti. Next, I'm going to transfer it to the baking pan. It says to like grab it with tongs and then twirl it in little like circles around the pan. I'm just gonna pour it. That seems like a lot of work to me. That would make a big old mess. Trying to make sure I have no like big clumps of spaghetti that stick together, you know. There it is, and the last step is to put some cheese on the top. Next, it says to spray one side of the tin foil with cooking spray and cover the dish tightly with it. Bake for 20 minutes, remove the foil, and bake until lightly brown 5 or 10 minutes. Sprinkle with parsley and serve. So I suppose this is so that doesn't stick to it. So the cook time included like the sauteing and everything, where I thought that was bake time. Let's get this bad boy into the oven. So I have thoughts about this meal. I just took the tin foil off and put it for 5 more minutes to see how long it takes to kind of, you know, brown up the cheese on top. Made a lot. I should have read the amounts better and probably cut it by half, just because sometimes when we try new things, if we don't like it, then we have a lot. Hoping maybe we either like it or I can share the leftovers. I don't think we'll dislike it. I don't know if it'll be our favorite. It's very pretty, like it looks all cheesy, and then with the peppers and the mushrooms and everything, it's just, you know, a nice looking dish. We don't eat a lot of like casseroles, but I just wanted to try it, so I don't know. We're gonna see. It smells really good in here, and it's super cheesy, so I'm hoping that's what tops it off. Next will be the finished product. Here is the chicken spaghetti out of the oven, and I just garnished it with a few sprigs of parsley. We'll see how that is. Never done that before, and I will let you know how it tastes after supper and close out this recipe. Well, we're all done with supper, and it was a hit. Everybody liked it good, and it was a nice, good cheesy taste, and with chicken, and had a nice consistency and everything, but it did make way too much for our family. So if I were to make it again, I'd probably cut it in half, because then that would be a more manageable amount for like leftovers and stuff. So my mom's gonna get a few leftovers, and Nick's dad's gonna get a few leftovers, but otherwise I would give it a thumbs up. If you like cheese and chicken, it's a little bit of veggies in there, that's gonna be the recipe for you. Hi there, I have another Magnolia table recipe for you. Today we are going to be making their meatloaf, and I have a recipe meatloaf I use from Betty Crocker, but this one sounded really good, so I decided to try this. So let's get to cooking. This is the meatloaf recipe from the Magnolia Table Cookbook, and you need pretty much the standard things you need for any meatloaf except for the cheddar cheese. I've never used cheddar cheese in my meatloaf, and you know, you combine it all, bake it in a pan, and away you go. So let's get to prepping and cooking. The recipe called for 1.5 pounds of hamburger, so I just bought one of those 3-pound tubes, cutting it in half, and then I'll just freeze the other half for a recipe at another time. Yes, I wear gloves to cut onions, because if I don't, my hands will smell like onions for days and days and days and days, and it's gross. I'm just adding in some cheese here, and I probably added more than I was supposed to, but I figured the more cheese the better, right? I added way too much salt to this recipe, and of course we were out of ketchup, so it was a pretty salty meal. Not over mixed, so just fold everything in.
I'm not supposed to like smush it together.
Yeah, you are. Honey, just fold it into each other.
So I can like crush the meat?
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
So I basically just need to combine all of the ingredients with the meat.
Yeah.
God, I wish I could just use my bare hands. Can I just, because it's like, I don't even got my right thumb in the funnel. So there's cheese in this recipe?
Yeah, looks like it.
Good or?
Looks like it. These potatoes are from my grandparents' garden, so I'm just going through and like picking out the little bad spots, and they had kind of a green skin on them, so I'm just getting rid of that. And I like to cut my potatoes pretty small when I'm going to roast them, just so they cook a little faster and they cook evenly, so you don't have any hard ones or super soft ones. Now I'm just adding some olive oil and some seasoning, and I really need to remember to spray my tinfoil because they do kind of stick after I roast them. So the meatloaf is all done and we've dished up, and it was a pretty good meal, besides it being a little bit salty. I hope you enjoyed the 3 Magnolia table recipes I shared with you. They are all from the Volume 1 cookbook. Let me know if you like these videos, because I have some other ideas of recipes that I can do with like the air fryer, maybe the Volume 2 or other cookbooks that I have. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.